Listening to Krystal Lee of the Jamaica Labour Party, who is going up against him this time. You're going up against a sitting MP who managed to hold on to a seat in 2016, even when his party lost, and you're new to the constituency. Doesn't that affect your chances, reduce your chances?
Well, there's no doubt that being a sitting member of parliament, you would think that he would have been more entrenched in the seat. But what is happening is that it is obvious that he has not done enough work in the communities, connected with the people enough. And that's the reason why now the sentiment on the ground is that they want strong representation. And they're looking forward to that. So I think the chances are very, very good for me. And I know that I'm going to bring home the seat based on that, because the people are looking for someone to represent them and bring actions. And not just talking, but actions.
I mentioned you're new to the constituency, not to politics though, as you're a sitting councillor, but in Western St. Mary, in the Retreat Division. So you're coming from another parish, as I mentioned, new into the constituency itself in terms of representing your party there. What about catching up in terms of groundwork there? Because your political stock, your political base is actually in another parish.
Well, that is true. That's so. It means, therefore, that I have to hit the ground, and the truth is that I have been doing that. I've been reaching out to our people because that is what has actually helped me to understand the issues in which our constituents are facing and what is needed to better their lives and to build our community and our constituency at large. So I have been definitely reaching out to them. Even though I'm not from the constituency, I have spent quite a bit of my time growing up here. I was the head girl for St. Hilda's High. I lived there for 5 years. I was confirmed at the St. Mark's Anglican Church in Brownstown. And I've worked, through my professional career, I've actually worked in this constituency as well.
Looking at the seat itself, it has, certainly the past few elections, it's never been won by more than 1,000 votes. So what's your strategy?
Well, my strategy is definitely to reach out to the people, to listen to them, and to come up with a plan for them, a development plan that I know will fix their issues and make them feel not so disappointed in the political structure that is set in place currently. I mean, when you talk to the constituents, you can hear the disappointment in their voices in terms of, their needs not being met, from basic needs such as proper road infrastructure, water supply system, and and those are basic things. And we're not talking about now even the need for job opportunities and employment and the visionary leadership that is needed to come from actually town planning and all those things, proper town planning, or even the town of Brownstown and other satellite towns that we have in the constituency. So my strategy, of course, is to put a plan together, or I should say, I have a plan together, right, that I'm putting forward to our constituents that is going to work for them. And it's not just a one-fix-all for everybody, because this constituency, you realize you have some very rural areas, you have some semi-urban and urban areas as well, and you find that each community has different needs. They have different needs. You have some sections that are predominantly farming, you have a fishing sector, you have a tourism sector, so it's diverse in its people. And, I'm going to have to definitely, whatever plan that I put in place will have to be something that can make everyone feel comfortable and feel as if and feel the representation once I become the Member of Parliament. So my aim is to convey that message to the constituents and let them not think that every politician is the same and is about getting votes and sitting in Parliament, but actually leaving a legacy for people to see leadership and representation and to feel as if they were served.
Looking at the divisions, Bamboo, Sturgetown, Dry Harbour, Brownstown. The Brownstown division has certainly for the past few elections been strongest for the PNP. Last time Dayton Campbell lost the other three divisions, but it was the majority in Brownstown that allowed him to win. In 2011, when he won all of them except Sturgetown. And in 2007, when Othniel Lawrence won, the only one he lost was Brownstone. So Brownstone obviously is going to be critical for you in terms of whether you can reduce the PNP's margin there enough and also win in the other divisions. Give me an idea of what your thinking is in relation to the divisional strategy.
Well, as it relates to Brownstone, I can tell you that what you find, I must say that the PNP definitely does have a strong base. They do have a strong base in Brownstone, but what you find is just the same sentiment going across the board as it relates to not pleased with the representation they have had from the sitting member of parliament for almost 10 years. They too you see a lot of them coming over. It's partly one of the reasons why several of them too have actually gone with the independent candidate because of those sort of things. So who have not come over to us and some have actually conveyed to us that, they are not pleased with representation as well. And so even though there is a base, because every political party has their base and you will have those persons who remain loyal, I do believe that Brownstone, especially the younger persons, they are seeing the light in terms of not just voting what their parents used to vote for before or their grandparents used to vote for before, but they want to vote for a government that they believe will work for them. So they're excited and anxious to vote for Andrew Holness, and they're excited and anxious to vote for Krystal Lee because they see that based on what I'm saying, they look at what the councillors have been doing, what the PM has been doing. They have looked at my track record and they have said, yes, I like the plan, the fact that she's coming with a plan. I want to support her. So you find that the younger set of generation, even though Brownstone is predominantly supporters of the PNP, they too are looking forward for new leadership.
You mentioned this independent candidate. Is that a JLP ploy to split the vote? Split the PNP's vote?
Definitely not. I mean, the independent candidate, I have heard of him. I met him personally only once since his campaign has started, and he was a strong People's National Party supporter. So, of course not. I mean, definitely not. When you look at the persons who are with the independent candidate, you'll realize that there is something definitely going on there, and the information that I get when I ask or try to inquire is similar to what I hear on the ground, and it's that they don't feel as if the sitting member of parliament has done enough for the people.
Are you concerned though about the presence of that independent candidate? Because in a constituency that doesn't have a large margin, an independent or third-party candidate picking up 50, 100, 150 votes can make a big difference. So are you concerned as to the possible impact?
Well, I'm concerned in that I feel as if there is definitely a breakaway for the PNP, but as it relates to us, I will not say that we have absolutely no supporters running behind, but it's not that's not as impactful on our structure. I would say that our supporters are still there. As a matter of fact, what you find with the JLP supporters are that they are more inclined to supporting their party, and they're not going to support an independent candidate, right? Especially if they had no affiliation with the Jamaica Labour Party. So I think it is more detrimental to the PNP candidate than it is for the JLP.
What are your primary plans for the constituency? What is your platform?
Well, pretty much having listened to a number of concerns and issues and seen them for myself, and having lived there for some time in the constituency as well, I realized that the road situation is a critical situation that needs to be addressed. You find that a lot of roads are in need of development, not only community roads, but also farm roads. What you find is that the sitting member of parliament tend to blame the councillors for these, bad road conditions. But I can tell you that some of these roads, if, more lobbying and advocacy was done to kind of bring forward some more funding to help with these roads, right? Because everybody knows that a councillor cannot do as much as a member of parliament can, right? And there has to be a level of support coming into these communities to build them and lift them. So when, as a member of parliament, you take a step back and just leave everything as it relates to the community and the council, that sets a very bad precedent, because there are certain things like even building of community centers and sporting facilities that, a member of parliament has to take charge and get those things done. So I'm going to be focusing heavily on road development, improvement in our water supply systems. I'll definitely be looking at that. You'll be surprised, Mrs. Miller, to realize how many communities are without proper running water, right? And I mean, that's a very big issue, and I that's something that I'll definitely have to address. Job opportunities. We have a lot of young people, right, that are unemployed, and of course you have some that are skilled and are unemployed, and then you have some that, of course, they need to be able to prepare themselves for employment. And so I'll have to, of course, facilitate that and push those opportunities through education and skills training. So I'll be looking at that again. That is going to form a heavy part of what needs to be done. And I'm very passionate about the town of Brownstone. I mean, this was where most of my critical years were, being a St. Hilda's student. And let me tell you, the town of Brownstone is an educational capital for even parishes, even neighboring parishes, St. Mary and even Trelawney. And it's a town, there needs to be a proper plan in place for the town of Brownstone. There's heavy congestion, no parking. So much more can be done to develop the town and even other satellite towns such as Discovery Bay, Runaway Bay, and other areas. I'm going to be improving in our farming communities. The improvement of the farm roads, right, is very well in need. That will definitely help the farmers so that they can transport their goods easily. People can get to them. They can get to people. The water situation for agricultural use needs to be sorted out as well. That is how we can help to support the farmers. And, of course, create some level of education for them, to create and help them to push other sorts of technology, greenhouse technology, to allow them to improve on their products, their produce, and help them to find markets for their products as well. We're looking at the loss of land space that we have, and perhaps we can go into looking at leasing some of these land spaces so that, and lease them to farmers, so that we can encourage more people to go into farming and make it more attractive too for some of our young people. Farming is something very lucrative once it is pushed in the right way and they get the right education and the support to do so. And I think with proper leadership, it can be done. Right. Of course, we have our fishing villages, right? We have parts of Salem and Discovery Bay and other areas that those fishermen, of course, too, they too need support, right? I went to a fishing village up to Saturday, and they are looking forward to the change, and they're looking forward to development, right, coming into Northwest St. Anne. And those are just some of the things that I'll be looking at, Mrs. Miller.
All right, final question. Turnout in the constituency last time was 48%, about the national average, but with COVID now upon us, there are concerns that a lot more people could stay home, which again could be very impacted in a marginal constituency. So how do you as a candidate address that in terms of trying to get out the vote?
Well, you raised a valid point. I do believe that COVID will definitely affect the voter turnout. And what I'm doing has to come from part of the strategy that we're using to reach out to the people. And of course, that goes back down to, house-to-house engagement and depending on our workers to touch base with our voters. Right, so our organization is one that is being worked on, but I can tell you that it's a very good structure that we're putting in place, because no matter how you feel before an election, it's not over until the actual day when you see the people coming out, and that's what's really is important, the actual day. So we are focusing on tightening our organization and ensuring that come September 3, all the persons who said that they're going to come out and vote for the GLP will come out on that day, and so far I can tell that the indication has been really good. And we're working towards keeping them encouraged, right? Encouraged, and continue to of course, show them the plan that we'll be rolling out for the constituency, and that will be done once Krystal Lee becomes a member of parliament for Northwest St. Anne.
Krystal Lee there, the GLP candidate for St. Anne Northwest.